Hi everybody, it's John back again with another model in box review. This is another aeroplane which probably doesn't need any introduction. This is of course the Focke Wulf FW190, and this variant is actually an A4 I believe. There are a number of these in on the airshow circuits all over the world because they made quite a few of them in the early 90s. I think this one could possibly be in Australia with two others, and they're flying on the airshow circuits at the moment. It must be really lovely to be able to see some of these lovely aircraft flying around in the airshow circuits nowadays. But I think in England, I don't think we have anyone flying an FW190A series anywhere near us. The model I'm actually doing an inbox review on today is the Revell Micro Wings Focke Wulf FW190A8 in 1/144 scale. Yeah, tiny kit. I did one of these a while back, and they are tiny, they are small, but they're actually really fun to build. The story of the boxings and the history of the kit starts in 1973 with a company who released a mini series of model kits called Gunzai Sangyo in Japan. And these kits were a lot of Western aircraft and an awful lot of Japanese aircraft, which all fell into the mini series. And the Japanese aircraft are no longer being manufactured now, but you can still get one or two of them cropping up on eBay and Amazon. And you might also be lucky to find one of the two of the Japanese kits in some boot sales here and there. But they're very rare and they often fetch ridiculous prices. But if you hold out, you still can get some of them for as little as £5 or £6. But it's very rare to find them for that. Gunzai Sanyo was actually incorporated into Revell in 1973, later in the year in 1973. And Revell released the FW190A as mini-series number 18 in Europe, and they ran Gunzai Sanyo in Japan for a number of years until merging the company into Revell eventually and selling the aircraft as micro wing series instead of mini wing series or mini aircraft sets. This was 1973. If you can manage to get hold of one of these yellow boxes, they're actually very collectible, and they were the original Revell release boxings. Revell also released this kit in 1976 through a company called Kikola. Now, I can't remember exactly where Kikola sold their kits in, but I've got a feeling it could possibly have been in the South American continent. But if some of you subbers out there know different, please let me know in the comments, because I honestly can't remember 100%, but for some reason Brazil comes to mind. These kits were sold through Revell. They were sourced from Revell through Kikola and sold elsewhere in the world in 1976, but as you can see, it is a pretty similar. Sorry about the image; it's the best image I can get hold of. But they are pretty much the same type of box as Revell sold in 1973. The model then went off the production line, and Revell released an unusual kit of the FW190. Now, this is not the same model that I'm doing an inbox review on, and it is not the same kit that came from the mini series. It is in fact a G1 variant, and it was actually sourced from a different company, and I'll explain what all that was during the options and costs section of the video. But this is a G1. It was a one-off release from Revell, and they never released it again. I don't know why. The kit itself looks slightly different. It looks like a long-nose D variant, but it definitely has an A series wing style, and the undercarriage is quite wide set like the A series was, but the cockpit looks quite small, so I'm guessing that it could possibly have been a D-nose style sort of fuselage. But Revell did release this kit, but be aware that it's not an original Revell kit. I mean, none of them are original Revell kits, but this is a totally different model to what you get in the mini series. 1982 then went to 1992, and this is a more familiar boxing with the serial number 4046. Now, this isn't the same serial number that they're releasing the kit in nowadays, and it's still called Mini 144 scale series. But this is the A variant of the FW190 that was sold in 1992, and throughout the probably up until about the mid to maybe late 1997s, 98s, that sort of era. And the kit, your kit is still on general release now with this style of box, and this is the actual kit that I've got. But they're called now Micro Wing series. You can usually get them cheap as chips. They're often as little as £3 in the shops, and they have a large number of different kits in their range. I did actually do a P40 Warhawk video in-box review on this kit, and I did actually list on that video the entirety of the Micro Wings range and also the Japanese aircraft and their relative numbers. But this serial number on this kit is now 04917, and this is the model that you can get on the shelves nowadays. We'll just leave you with a nice image of an A variant. I think this is an A. I think that's an A8 actually. Not 100% sure. I'm not fantastic with the A variants, FW190s, but they are. I do like the look of them. They're actually a very nice, very attractive and well designed aircraft. So what we'll do quickly is we'll just pan the camera down. I'm not expecting this video to take very long because this kit is quite small. There we go. Let's just bring the camera right down, angle it up so I can get the shadow out of the. Oops, there we go. That's a bit better, isn't it? Get the shadow out of the base, and then whoops, sorry about that. And then try and twist it a little tiny bit. There we go. That should deal with it. There we go. Right, this is the kit. There's my hand in front of the kit, so you can see it's quite a small box. The back of the model box, it's got like suggestions for paints and accessories and things. There's no advertising for the other kits on any of the boxing, but on the early series boxes, the yellow boxes, they were festooned with the other like images of the other kits in the series. I think there were about 3 or 4 options that you could get on each box, and each one was different. We'll just put the parts down there. I haven't actually opened the bag on this kit yet. I'm not sure if I'll need to, because you can probably see quite a bit that's going on in here anyway. Just put the decals down there. You get 2 sheets of information here. You get a first sheet here, which is all safety advice, loads of different languages. It's an A4 size. I'm not really going to dwell too much on that, but every Revell kit, you get one of these in it somewhere, and I think it's just basically to make sure they're covering their own arse in case somebody cuts around on a modelling knife or something, which is a bit ridiculous really. The instruction leaflet itself unfolds to, it's an interesting A4, unfolds to A4 size. On the front and the back you've got a picture of the image on the front. This is unusual for Revell, because normally you have an image of the model made up, but this is actually an image of the artwork on the box front. But Revell obviously decided that they didn't want to put an image of the model made up, and then you've got loads of icons there that you normally get on some of these instruction leaflets with all sorts of different companies. And then you get the first contradiction in the kit itself, because on the front here it clearly states Focke Wulf FW190 A8 Micro Wing series. But when you look at the paint guide, and I found this really interesting, when you look at the paint guide, it actually states, you've got a paint guide there with the paint guide and the decal application guide there, but on the top there it clearly states that this aircraft is an FW190 A5, and I thought that's a bit weird, and I think that's a big mistake put up by Revell. I don't think Revell should really have overlooked something like that, which is a bit ridiculous. On the other side of the inside of the page, this would normally be page 2, you've got some pictorial guides there for safety tips and for basically the how-to-do sort of pictures, and you got a lot of that with early Revell kits, and they've carried over onto the modern ones. And then on this side you've got the paint numbers guides on the back here, which just tells you the flags that indicate, the flag call-outs for the colours to use. And I think they're Revell Humbrol colours, or no, sorry, they're Revell acrylic colours that are listed there. And then you get a parts guide, which is quite handy because the part sprues on this kit are tiny and the numbers are tiny. They're very difficult to read, and I'm always a fan of parts guides, parts plans and everything. It's great. The kit builds up in 6 stages. They're not very difficult to follow, and I can't see this kit taking very long to build. The first section, you're going straight into fuselage assembly because there's no detail inside this kit whatsoever. There's no pilot, there's no floor pan, there's no nothing. Section 2, you've got the engine sub-assembly, and again there's not a lot to that, just three parts. And then in section 3 you're marrying the sub-assembly of the engine and the canopy to the fuselage. And I tend to put the fuselages on at the end, paint them, and then put them on when the aircraft's painted. Section 4, you're assembling the airframe, tailplane assembly, and the wings. The wing on this kit is actually one piece, which is quite nice. Section 5, you're putting the bomb armament on, the undercarriage. The undercarriage legs are actually one part, you'll see them in a minute. And then you're putting the stand into position with the plaque for the name of the aircraft on the stand. And I quite like these, but also I remember building the P40 without the stand, and it was the first one I built without the stand, and I think these kits can look quite nice. So what I might do is I might have the stand optional to be able to have it in or not in, do you know what I mean? The decals. Now, when you bought the earlier rendition of the earlier rendition kits, when they were the mini series, the decals were a bit dire, I'll be honest with you. They were tiny, they weren't very good in register. But modern day decals in the modern day boxes, even kits of this size, those decals are pretty good, aren't they? There's no sheen whatsoever off the shine backing film. It's actually upside down, sorry about that. The actual register on those crosses are fantastic, and the decals are really good quality. And there's not many of them, I know, but the kit's very small, so I wouldn't worry too much about those. But the decals are very, very good quality, and I'm very pleased with those. Shouldn't be any issue with those going on whatsoever. Now then, the parts. What I'll do, I'll just quickly nip this open. Put that into there. Pull this sprue out. Pull the next sprue out, and the cockpit canopy should come out as well. First of all, we'll show you this part here. This is a stand. It comes in two parts, although there is a third part that goes on that's on the grey sprue with the name plaque. It should have FW190 written on it, which is quite nice. These stands are actually quite nice. They're clear, but I usually painted them. When I built them, I used to paint them matte black, which sort of set the kit off and made it sort of a tabletop sort of thing. The canopy, try not to laugh, that's the canopy. And hopefully it's going to come nicely into focus. The canopy is very small, but it's quite clear. You can see it just coming into focus now. It's quite clear indeed. There's no detail in this kit to see through that, but the canopy is quite small, and all you really need to do with this kit is to darken the interior of the fuselage down, and that should really suffice. Unless you want to go to town and put a pilot in it, Bill. I know you probably would. Right, the final sprue is the grey plastic sprue, and this is, I've looked at this, and this is quite interesting. Now then, don't dwell on the small parts too much, because the quality of the Gunzai Sanyu modes that Revell took over, they weren't fantastic, I'll be honest with you. But these kits are very small, and the overall shape and accuracy of the airframe is pretty good. The only thing I've found with these kits is, and it's pretty uniform with all of them, is that the surface detail on the airframe is pretty heavy, which is, you know, what you'd expect with a small scale aircraft like this. But especially on the lower wing and the upper surfaces of the wing, I think they'll take a pretty good reasonable sanding, and it should sort of resolve the issue. I mean, that detail there around the gun ports and the loading bays for the gun's ammunition, it's pretty heavy set, but that should sand down. It should sand down quite nicely. The lines there are raised. They're not recessed. They're raised, obviously, for obvious reasons. And there is a little bit of work to do on those undercarriage legs. You can see there's a little bit of cleaning up to do, but it's not a lot, because the back of those undercarriage legs forms the doors. So, you know, you don't want to go to town too much. The propeller's a little bit pointy. I think the prop tips might need to be rounded down slightly, but it's not a lot. And the radiator, obviously, there's not a lot of detail in there, but yeah, you got the vanes in there, haven't you? The annular radiator there. Great. And then you've got the elevator surface detail then. That's not too bad either, is it? So the parts aren't too bad, you know. I think the parts are sort of okay for 144 scale. So what I want to do quickly, let's just put this back together again very quickly. and then I can give you the box to look at whilst I go through this gump. I don't think this video is going to take very long to shut down at all. There's not even a lot of options and costs to go through. And again, with the popularity of the model subject, I've restricted it just to the A variant in 1/144 scale, and also any variants that utilise the same airframe. So you've got other variants as well, and I'll let you know what those are. Right, just pop this box here, you can have a good look at it. There we go, and then we can just quickly go through this gump and then close the video down. The model kit itself is a Revell Focke Wulf FW190A8. The serial number on the box is 04917, but the original Mini Wing series was number 18. The original release date was 1973, and the kit's moulded in 1/144 scale. There are decals for a Focke Wulf FW190A5 of the German Luftwaffe flown by Oberleutnant O. Stamberger of 4th JG-26, serving in France during June 1943. The kit's dimensions are about 2.25 inches long by a 3-inch wingspan, and it should sit about 1.25 inches high on its undercarriage, maybe a little under that. There are 12 parts on one grey plastic sprue and 2 parts on one clear plastic sprue and a loose clear part, producing 15 parts in total. The options and costs only relate to an FW190A, F or G variants, all in 1/144 scale. Now then, standalone kits are the Aoshima FW190A8, where you get 2 planes in one box, and that retails for about £12.50 to £35. The Edward offering of the FW190F8 comprises 2 planes in one box. That kit sells for about £10 to £15. F-Toys do an FW190A4, and that retails for between £10 and £15. FE Resin Models do an FW190A3, which is a resin kit, not an easy build. No price details on that whatsoever, sorry about that. Gunzai Sangyo do an FW190A, and that kit retails for anything from £5 to £10. ICO do an FW190G1, and that kit, unfortunately, I haven't got any pricing details on that. The company AHM do an FW190G1, which is an ICO kit, no pricings on that. RI do an FW190G1, which is an ICO kit, again no pricings on that. And RI also do a Scramble Sky Fighter set of an FW190A, a Hurricane, a Mustang, a Helldiver, a Warhawk and a King Cobra, all in the one box, and they're all ICO kits reboxed. Again, no pricings on that, but I'm guessing that's going to be pretty expensive. Crown do an FW190, that's the ICO kit reboxed, about £5 to £10. Mark 1 Models do a really nice set of FW190 A6, A7, A8 and A9 and an F8 set, all with 2 planes in one box, and that's an Edward reboxed kit for £10 to £13. Revell do an FW190 A5, which is a Gunzai Sangyo kit, for £3 to £10. And Revell also do an FW190 G1, which is an ICO kit, and there's no details for pricing on that, but that's pretty rare as well. Revell also coupled up with a company called Kikola, and they released an FW190A, which was a Gunzai Sangyo kit, for £3 to £10. Now then, conclusions. Well, what can you say about a kit that's really at best mediocre? The Revell Mini Wings models are early 1970s technology, and it really shows. However, they are possibly the cheapest option, and build up in, they're possibly the cheapest option, and they should build up into a kit that's sort of good shape, though very basic and detailed features. Now, the ICO and Crown kits are the models to be avoided, which means you should steer clear of the Revell FW190G1 option as well. The Edward base kits are praised by the reviewers, and I agree with them, as they do look really nice. Edward base kits were also found in the Mark 1 models offerings, and those were the kits that were reviewed more recently, and the pro builders really like the Edward base kits. They say they're absolutely fantastic. So that's the inbox review for the Focke Wulf FW190. I hope this video has been of some use. If you have any questions, queries, anything, just pop them in the comments slip. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. As usual, have fun, and I hope all your modelling projects are going really smooth. Thanks for now. See you for the next one. Bye-bye.